Good morning, and welcome to the Alameda Connection on KCSM HD2. I'm your host, Scott Piehler. With the holiday season in full swing, Dickens reminds us that it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt. While that is definitely true, the work of organizations like the Alameda Food Bank continues 365 days a year. My guest today is Teale Harden. Since 2023, she's been the executive director of the Alameda Food Bank, which recently celebrated the opening of its new state-of-the-art facility that is not only efficient, but brings a sense of dignity to the clientele who rely on its services. Through pandemic, government shutdowns, and unexpected lawsuits, the Alameda Food Bank continues to find a way to serve 10% of the population of our island city. Join me for my conversation with Teale Harden of the Alameda Food Bank this morning on the Alameda Connection. Well, good morning, Teale, and welcome to the Alameda Connection.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with a little history. You've got the 50th anniversary coming up in 2 years. What can you tell us about the history of the Alameda Food Bank?
Alameda Food Bank has a really deep history here in Alameda, obviously. We started out in a closet at Twin Towers Church, which I think is pretty close nearby. We're just down the block.
Just down the road.
We started out in the closet and then has had many different homes over the years in different locations.
Was Christ Episcopal Church one of those locations?
It was a distribution
center. Okay.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, our main distribution location was out of a pantry, the little double wide trailers over on Wilma Chan and Atlantic. And then we would do a couple of off-site pantries, including at Christ Episcopal. So we've had many different locations over the years, from Twin Towers to that trailer over on Wilma Chan and out on the base. And now we've just recently moved into our new forever home, which we hopefully will not be moving from anytime soon.
The numbers of people served, if we go back to the early days, I think I remember reading on your website, it was like, and we served 35 a week. Where are we now?
It's been such drastic growth, really, since COVID. So pre-COVID, out of that little pantry trailer, we would serve 50 shoppers a day. Wow, that's a lot of people that we served. During the pandemic, we were doing the drive-through distribution methods, cars lining up literal mile long. We would serve between 500, sometimes up to 700 vehicles. And really, we saw a little dip post-COVID, but we've just seen those numbers continue to rise and rise and rise. It's really not uncommon for us on Wednesday evenings during our longest distribution hours for us to serve over 700 families in a single day. So it's really just been a long-term change in how many people are in need of our services.
If we were to put it in terms of, you say to me, we served 500 that day, how much food is that?
I haven't done that math in a while.
Right.
But what I can say is, for perspective, we use true grocery shopping carts. It's kind of those smaller versions that you would see at the grocery store.
Kind of like a Whole Foods cart.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And so there's, two main compartments. Some people really take advantage of the food that we offer, and other people really only come in for a handful of things that they're looking for to get them through the week or to make their meals more complete. It really varies widely. I would guess maybe between 25 and 50 pounds, depending on how much people are bulking up on their shopping.
That's per shopper.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the Alameda Food Bank and the Alameda County Community Food Bank?
This is a question we get all the time, and I love answering it.
Oh, good.
Because both organizations are so important, and I think there's a lot of confusion between the two. The Alameda County Community Food Bank is a much larger organization. They serve the entire county of Alameda, whereas we only serve the city of Alameda under normal circumstances. During COVID and during the recent government shutdowns, when people weren't receiving their SNAP benefits, we did open up to serve anyone in need of food assistance. So we do play a regional role. But on our normal day-to-day operations, the city of Alameda Food Bank, we are serving people who live, work, or go to school in the city of Alameda. So it's really, our focus is on the community. Whereas the county food bank, they are serving organizations. They provide food to organizations like us. And then we distribute food to smaller community groups and families and individuals.
So someone who is in need would not go to the Alameda County Community Food. They would go to an organization like yours or Oakland
Exactly. Generally called a pantry. The county food bank they refer to us as member agencies. We're
Okay.
all independent organizations, different finances, different boards of directors. There's over 400 of us. Many of these organizations, food distribution is not the main thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes it'll be schools or churches
Okay.
or medical facilities where they provide food in addition to many other services. The City of Alameda Food Bank is actually one of only a handful where all we do is food distribution. We're really able to focus on that being our main goal, is keeping families fed.
You became executive director in 2023, took over from Cindy House to serve for 8 years, which was the longest tenure. What did you learn from Cindy?
Working with Cindy through the pandemic was just so eye-opening. We are a really small team. We were a really small team then. We're still pretty small. So during the pandemic, it was generally 3 paid staff. One of the main things I learned from Cindy is, one, the can-do attitude. You just got to get it done. Cindy also had this great phrase of food bank perfect, where it was things might not be going right. It might not be exactly how we want it to be, but it's food bank perfect, and we got food out to people, and that's our goal. And sometimes that's enough, and that's as much as we can really
That
hope,
reminds
though.
me of the old community theater. How is it? Good enough for summer stock.
Yep, exactly.
You take over for Cindy, and one thing I noticed that Cindy's brought about is this idea of a normalized shopping experience. I've worked with other food banks back in Georgia, very different from what I see at Alameda Food Bank. What I see at Alameda Food Bank is amazing. So let's talk about that normalized shopping experience.
I think during Cindy's time, she did really focus on the shopper experience, bringing Alameda Food Bank into more of a modern organization in terms of how we think about distributing food. Cindy had a lot to do with the organization's current focus on providing a compassionate experience and a dignified experience, and making sure that people know that when they are coming to access food, that they shouldn't be ashamed of it, and really working to destigmatize the experience. And that's something that has really stayed with the organization even after she has departed. A lot of the focus in the design of the building, and so really her legacy is going to be this building and the way that she started the transition towards that focus on dignity and compassion, and it's going to be a part of the building forever.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about food bank clients?
There's many.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there can be a lot of thoughts around who's coming to a food bank, why they're coming, are people deserving? I guess my response is generally, it can be really hard to ask for help. There is a lot of stigma around food banks.
Right.
It's not always a pleasant experience. It's not always an efficient experience. If people are coming in to shop with us, it means that they probably need the help. It's not an easy way to access food. And so if people are coming in, there's probably a reason.
It reminds me of a statement that I read years ago that just stuck with me, is that the vast majority of people you see are 3 missed paychecks away from being thrown out on the streets. These are your neighbors.
And I think during COVID, it was something that came up where there was a lot of people would see what kind of cars were coming through the lines and have thoughts or judgments around whether that car was quote unquote too nice to be coming through the line. I guess I would just challenge people to step back, and we don't know what the circumstances are. Especially during the COVID, we would talk about people who own their own businesses who might be doing well under normal circumstances, but if their business has completely shut down because of the pandemic, they still have a car payment to make, and they still have their lives to live. Maybe that's your neighbor picking up for a homebound senior. And so maybe the food isn't for themselves. Maybe they're doing their neighborly part to support the other people in their community who are food insecure.
Does the food bank have a way to get food to homebound people?
We've had a home delivery program for many, many years. And so that is mostly for people who are homebound, don't have transportation, don't have a support network to be able to access food for them. So we will do deliveries on Tuesdays generally. But then something new that we added coming out of the pandemic was we added a curbside pickup option for people who have transportation or who have the ability to physically get to us, but actually going through the shopping experience is
someone with mobility issues.
Is challenging. And so we have a very limited number of shoppers who utilize our curbside pickup option. Some of those are like very heartbreaking people who have children who are medically fragile and they're not able to get both of their kids in to go through the shopping experience. Right. Again, a lot of times it's seniors who have mobility challenges or medical limitations. It's been really nice to be able to still have that face to face and be able to get them foods that they want and they need, but not having to completely make it a home delivery where they lose a lot of the social interaction.
Sure. Is there such a thing as a typical client?
It's very broad. What I will say is that many of our shoppers are seniors. We work with a lot of older adults, people who are on fixed incomes. I would say those are our most consistent shoppers, maybe people that we see on a very regular basis where their day is Wednesday mornings and they come, and there's also these very beautiful like social interactions that form. We really encourage people not to arrive early and stand in line because they don't need to.
Right.
But when people do arrive early, you'll see people having conversations and, staying warm in the sunshine and stretching. And you really get the social interaction, which is really sweet to see.
Where does the food bank get their food from?
The main place we get food from is the Alameda County Community Food Bank. So as a member agency, that gets us access to food that they are able to provide. Generally, we get 2 semi-truck deliveries of food from them a week. During the government shutdown, when we were serving open to anyone who was in need of our services, they were able to increase that to a 3rd truckload each week. A standard delivery would include multiple types of fruits and vegetables, protein items, and some canned goods. Occasionally, we'll get refrigerated things like yogurts or cheese or things like that, but that's much less frequent. The next place that we get food from is we purchase 3 days a week from a wholesale produce supplier. And we do that because we really want to emphasize fresh fruits and vegetables.
Sure.
Our goal to always have around a dozen produce options each distribution day. We'll purchase that 3 days a week. We work with incredible gardens and community groups that farm and bring in donations. So that's Christ Episcopal, that's Alameda Backyard Growers who go and harvest the fruit from around the island and bring that in to donate. We are frantically preparing for the citrus tsunami. Bay Eagle Garden, many organizations that provide fresh, hyper-local produce to us, which we love. Also through general community donations. One of the reasons you might say, like, how did that random spice get here or something? Because we have access to such a broad array of kind of staple goods from the county food bank and then also through our own bulk purchasing. When we have community members reach out and say, we want to do a food drive, one, we always encourage financial donations first, because that helps us purchase those staples in bulk and ensure a consistent supply.
I want to jump on that just for a minute, because I had this question for later, but I want to point it out to people now. If I take $5 and go to the grocery store, I can buy X items. You can probably take that $5 as the food bank and do X times 5.
So you might go to Lucky and buy a case of tuna or something and pay $3 per can. Whereas when we are buying in bulk and we work with other organizations, including the county food bank, including other food pantries, to increase the number of pallets that we're buying, we're able to decrease the cost per unit. So that's really why we encourage people to do financial donations. The other thing is we love the unique items because it makes shoppers really excited. When people are doing food drives, we encourage them to pick spices and global foods and things that we don't normally stock, things that help make food into a meal. On the flip side of that, we then have to go through, make sure that it's safe to distribute. Volunteers have to sort it. They have to go into categories. Then it has to get distributed. So it can be very time consuming, especially at a time of year we are in right now where it's very high volume, to make sure we're handling all of that food in a productive manner. We talked a little bit about like the stigma around food banks, the experience, and one of the biggest pieces of feedback that our food bank receives, that all food banks receive, anyone who's doing food distribution, is there's this perception that we run out of food, the best food is distributed earliest in the day, and that leads to people arriving early, standing in line.
Got it.
And so the other benefit of financial donations so that we can purchase in bulk is that it can ensure that we have enough of those items for entire distribution days.
Sure.
And that overall helps improve the experience for shoppers. We're going to serve 700 families on Wednesday. Instead of saying, okay, we have 100 units of oatmeal that we can distribute, we have 100 units of cereal, and we have to swap it midway through.
Right.
By buying a full pallet, we're able to make sure everybody is getting access to oatmeal this week. And then next week, maybe we switch it to cereal.
How big is your team and how many volunteers?
We can't really talk about the team without talking about volunteers.
Right.
The volunteers are so important. Our paid staff is 6. We have 6 paid staff. So it's myself. We have a programs manager and a programs coordinator, and then a warehouse manager, warehouse coordinator, and then our development manager.
By the way, Felix needs a gold star. He took me around the new facility. He's great.
Felix is the best. Yeah. Our whole staff is the best, as are all of our volunteers. Our volunteer base is, we are so lucky to have so many committed volunteers. Over 600 volunteers come and work with us annually. And for Island Community Market, it takes about 50 volunteers a day to be able to make that operation run. And so that's just a huge commitment from the community to be able to make that happen. And so many of those volunteers are people who come in not only just one day a week, one shift a week. We have so many volunteers who come in for 2, 3, 4 shifts a week and dedicate their time to the food bank and serving their community. And it's just wonderful.
Let's talk about the new space, and let's get one thing out of the way first. Did you ever expect to be sued?
No, that was out of left field. That was unexpected, not on my bingo card.
For those of you in the greater Bay Area who may not have followed this story, we're not going to mention names, but a lawsuit was filed, and it was under the California Environmental Quality Act. Timeline. Lawsuit comes out in September of 24 as you're trying to build the new facility. The groundbreaking in November of 24. The lawsuit gets dismissed in April. You finally open the new facility in October. Did that lawsuit have any either temporary or lasting detrimental effects?
Absolutely. It was such a huge distraction from the work that we were trying to do and are still trying to do. Our stance from the very beginning was that this is unnecessary, and our goal is to feed people and to create a space where people feel comfortable to be able to come and access food. Our team is very small.
Right.
So really any time, any energy that is not spent on our mission, on our goals of keeping people fed and getting food into the hands of the community is time taken away. All of the time, all of the money that went into dealing with that lawsuit was absolutely detrimental.
The only positive that came out of that lawsuit was the induction of some of the greatest memes in the history of memeing, when the term historic parking lot was foisted upon the Alameda lexicon.
Yes.
The memes alone, I'm sorry you had to go through that. They were funny memes.
Yeah. There was a lot of wonderful humor that came out of it. And again, the community just stepping up to raise awareness around the issue and raise awareness around what we were trying to do in terms of building this new facility and why that was important was wonderful. But yeah, definitely you got to find the humor in it.
I don't know as I've ever seen a community so rally around someone. So it was like watching a family of 10 when somebody picked on little brother. It was just done. That restored my faith in humanity. So this is AFB's first permanent facility because you were leasing the previous one. Let's talk about it. I've been there. It's beautiful. When I describe it to people who haven't been there, I say, imagine the nicest professional building you can be in that happens to have a grocery store attached to it. Walk us through. It's just gorgeous.
We had a really great design team. We worked with MBH architects here on the island to be able to really focus on designing a building that was incredibly functional, but also was really great for the people who were doing the work in it. Our approach to designing the space was always shoppers first, then volunteers, and then staff.
Okay.
So when you go into the space, you can literally see the division of the square footage. We put as much square footage as possible into the shopping floor, into the indoor waiting area, because those are the areas that the shoppers are using, into the food storage area so that we can make sure we have ample supply for people shopping with us. We added a volunteer break room and then our staff offices. The entire process was very, very fast. And we bought the property in July of 2024. It was complete in October of 2025. So
That's
we moved
warp speed.
really, really quickly, which I think, again, is a testament to the support in the community. We wouldn't have been able to do what we did without everyone rallying behind us and moving the project forward.
Where does AFB get its funding?
We are mostly supported by individual donors.
Mhm.
Again, many of them are community members who live here on the island, which is why under normal circumstances, we serve people who live, work, or go to school in the city of Alameda. We feel really strongly about serving the community that is also supporting us. We have this phrase that we love to use as neighbors helping neighbors.
Right.
So that's kind of one of our taglines that we use, and it helps keep us aligned in what we're trying to do. After individual donors, we fundraise however we can.
Right.
We apply for grants. We have a little bit of funding that comes passed down through the city through federal grants. We work with the United Way. We had a grant through them that was federally funded that was completely used for purchasing food that we have not received yet this year. It's always interesting and things are always up in the air these days. Really, we are just so grateful to the community members who choose to support the food bank and choose to support their neighbors.
What are the opportunities and challenges that you see ahead?
The opportunities in the new facility, there's a lot of opportunities that we're looking forward to implementing as we head into the new year. When we were designing the building, we included space for wraparound services.
Okay.
So we already have some existing partnerships with other organizations and nonprofits that provide services that we don't, but that contribute to people needing to visit a food bank in the first place.
So it might be something like, let's say, do you need help with a resume?
Yes. We know that people experiencing food insecurity, that is just a symptom of a larger issue. We gave away 3 million pounds of food last year. We can do that. We can do 6 million. We can do 9 million. It doesn't matter. That's never going to really impact the root causes of why people are coming in to visit us in the first place. We're really great at giving away a lot of food, but don't have the bandwidth and the experience and the skills to be able to help people with some of those other issues that are more of the root causes.
Sure.
But there's many other organizations who are great at that. So we just wanted to carve out space and create a space where those other organizations could come in and interact with our shoppers. As I mentioned, many of our shoppers are very consistent. Some people come on a very regular basis, and we've built a lot of trust with shoppers over the years. And so our hope is that we can kind of build on that trust so that when people come in and see that there's an organization that they've never heard of offering a service that they could benefit from, that they feel comfortable taking advantage of that.
So it's sort of the Bishop Desmond Tutu theory. It's fine to pull people out of the river, but we need to go upstream and figure out why they're falling in the first place.
Yes.
What kind of reactions do you get from the volunteers?
The volunteers are so wonderful. Most people have, I think, a similar reaction as what you did. Was the space is
Right.
so lovely and so much nicer than any of our previous spaces. And so especially volunteers that have been with us for a long time, they really notice and appreciate how much time and care we put into trying to make a space that was nice for them as well.
Right.
One of my favorite parts of my job is how many people come through the door and just getting to know all of these different backgrounds of
Right.
people. There are so many different people who are volunteering. And so I just love having conversations with volunteers about what did you do in your professional life? And
Right.
everybody has just such a broad scope and skills that they bring in with them. And so then trying to match up people's affinities and their expertise into all of these different roles and tasks that we have within the food bank so that everybody is getting a beneficial experience and having a good experience.
Well, let me flip that back to you. What's Teale Harden's story? How does Teale Harden go from wherever you started to here?
I grew up on a cattle ranch on the central coast of California
Really?
near Paso Robles.
Okay.
I was involved in food and agriculture from a really young age. And it was always something that interested me, but I also was interested in kind of the people side of the equation as well. And so when I was going to college, I went to college in Montana. I studied sustainable food and bioenergy systems.
Okay.
And it really was an opportunity for me to learn about not only food production, but then also there was a nonprofit component, and I learned a little bit more of kind of the social work experiences. Being able to combine those two things that I enjoyed was wonderful. After college, I moved to the Bay Area. I worked in the farmers market scene for a while, and then I moved on to the food bank, and it's really the perfect balance for me in terms of taking care of people, making sure people are cared for, but also the nutrition aspect
Sure.
and making sure people have access to food.
What would you say to someone to get them to volunteer? You should come and volunteer because.
If someone was curious about volunteering for the first time, I think I would tell them that it's such an uplifting experience. It's not just the service component, but again, going back to neighbors helping neighbors, you get to form these relationships with other volunteers. You form relationships with people who are shopping and the volunteers. And it's really just a wonderful way to spend 3 hours socializing and putting in some hard work, but feeling really gratified at the end of it.
I will say in the times I've been in, I've never seen a volunteer look grumpy.
It's pretty rare. Yeah.
What are some reactions from clients that sort of keep you warm at night where you might hold on to an interaction with someone?
I literally just had one as I was walking into the studio.
Really?
Yeah. I was talking to a woman. It was her first time in. And it's hard not to get emotional.
Well, sure.
Hearing people's stories and, you know, what's happening out in the world can be really stressful. This person just let me know that it was her first time in. She had a great experience. The kids are always a good one, hard and good. Again, our volunteers are incredible. They bring in stickers so that even when we were in the old space in the warehouse and it was dark and gloomy and cold, giving out a sticker to a kiddo coming through, it's like, oh, less of I went to a food bank when I was a kid and more of I went to this weird, funky grocery store and I got a sticker at the end is really what we're shooting for.
What gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps you coming back to the food bank day after day?
The people. It's always the people. Anyone who's asked me any version of this question, I will gladly tell them if I wake up and I'm grumpy and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I go to work and I'm immediately better and happy. And there's not many people or jobs where that happens. And so I just am very fortunate to be able to work in the community that I do and with so many wonderful people.
What do you love about Alameda in general?
The interconnectedness, the enthusiasm that people have, whether it's for Halloween or for Christmas Tree Lane or whatever other events are happening. I just love how enthusiastic people get about whatever they're passionate about. And I think
it's kind of a go big or go home town.
Yeah, definitely. And it's fun. It brings a lot of joy and levity. I feel like it can be a hard world out there sometimes. Keeps it light and keeps it fun.
You have company coming in from out of town. Mm-hmm. You have to take them to 3 meals somewhere on the island.
Okay.
With 3 different meals. Where are you going?
Well, my mom was literally just in town.
Okay.
So
you have a hand up.
Yeah. We did not have time to go to Saltbreaker. That would have been one, I think. Julie's is always a great one. Bon My Vein.
Bon My Vein, yeah.
Yep.
We're well familiar, and you're not the first guest to come up with that. And you're not the first guest to say, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Do you ever think to yourself, I really wish I didn't have to do this? Not that you weren't in the position, but that this job didn't need to exist?
All the time. As a board, our staff, we talk about we're so glad that we're able to make the experience as good as it is, that we're able to distribute as much food as we are, that we're able to provide a space that feels welcoming and maybe even a little comforting at times. But why does a food bank exist? Why are we serving 1,600 families in a week in Alameda, California, where there's so much wealth and so much support and people are still struggling and feeling the need to come in?
How can people best help you do what you do?
We always talk about people being advocates for organizations and specifically the food bank. We serve about 10% of the population annually. Oftentimes when we've shared that stats outside of the food bank, people are just blown away by how many people we're serving, how much food we distribute. We always ask people, if you know anything about the food bank, if you've volunteered, if you've visited, to share your experience, your personal experience with the rest of your network and bring the food bank up in conversations. It really expands the reach not only to support us, to make sure that we are able to continue to operate, also because you never know who might be in need of our services. Again, someone getting laid off, someone who had a car breakdown and is just struggling a bit right now. And so having those conversations is twofold in terms of both people who can offer support, but also people who might be in need of a little bit of support right now.
How can people best keep up with what you're doing?
Following our social media, volunteering with us. Once you volunteer, you will start getting our volunteer emails, which have a lot of good information about everything that we're doing and how you can best support.
I do have to ask because of a previous guest, are you ready to take over Alameda Haunts? Because Patty said she's turning it over.
It's going to be a big one. One of our very wonderful board members was part of the Boo Crew this year.
Okay.
Kind of was the understudy to Patty.
Oh, very
so
good.
Yeah,
That's some big shoes.
Massive. I don't know how we're going to keep up with it, but what Patty did is now going to be like 3 people's jobs, I'm sure. So we'll see what we can make happen.
And what are those socials? What's the website?
Yep, AlamedaFoodBank.org. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the usuals.
Teale Harden, Executive Director of the Alameda Food Bank. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for spending time with us on the Alameda Connection.
Thank you very much. I had fun.
Take care. Thanks again to Teale Harden, Executive Director of the Alameda Food Bank, for spending time with us this morning on the Alameda Connection. To find out ways you can get involved and keep up with what's going on at the food bank, just head to alamedafoodbank.org. Next week on the Alameda Connection, we're going just around the corner from the Alameda Food Bank and make a stop at Almanac Adventureland. In a year that has seen more breweries close than open, Almanac has found success fully embracing the concept of being a family and dog-friendly event space for one and all. My guest will be Chief Revenue Officer Kevin Scholes, and we'll talk about that pivot and why it works. As always, thank you to the California Historical Radio Society for providing our interview location with Teale Harden, and as always, thanks to Bill Hart for providing our theme music. The song is called Beachside Isle, and it's from his album Watch the Sky. I'm Scott Piehler. Hope you'll join me next week on the Alameda Connection here on KCSM HD2.